In a forgotten corner of a desolate town, where time seemed to have taken its toll on every structure and soul, lay an old, decrepit amusement park known as Phantom's Playground. Once, this place had been a beacon of joy and laughter, a haven for families and children seeking thrills and wonder. However, the passage of time had turned the vibrant hues of this once lively haven into a monochrome of decay, and the raucous laughter had been replaced by an eerie silence that hung heavy in the air like a shroud. The rusted iron gates, once welcoming visitors with a resounding clank, now stood ajar, revealing a chilling invitation for the curious and the brave to venture inside. However, the locals knew better than to heed that sinister call, for Phantom's Playground held secrets that whispered dark tales of mysterious disappearances and ghostly apparitions. Legends passed down through generations warned others to steer clear of these cursed grounds, where the line between the living and the dead was said to blur, and the echoes of the past clung to the souls of the present. Yet, despite the chilling tales and the unsettling aura that surrounded the forsaken amusement park, the allure of forgotten wonders and the thrill of exploring the unknown proved too tantalizing for some to resist. Among those drawn by morbid curiosity were four friends: Sarah, a bold and adventurous spirit with a penchant for seeking out the extraordinary; Mark, a cautious yet inquisitive soul who found himself swayed by the lure of mystery; Emily, a skeptical realist who often dismissed tales of the supernatural but couldn't deny her fascination with the eerie; and Alex, the self-proclaimed skeptic, who mocked ghost stories during daylight but couldn't shake off the unease that crept upon him as the sun dipped below the horizon. Ignoring the sage advice of the townsfolk and undeterred by the ominous stories that echoed in the whispers of the wind, the quartet stepped foot onto the decaying path that led them into Phantom's Playground. Each step seemed to resonate with a disheartened sigh from the weathered grounds, as if warning them to turn back, to spare themselves from the unsettling truths that awaited them within. Nonetheless, they pressed on, their hearts a mix of trepidation and exhilaration, venturing further into the heart of the forgotten amusement park. Gone were the days of bustling crowds and the twinkling lights that had once illuminated the night sky, for the attractions now lay dormant, abandoned like the memories that once filled the air. The towering roller coaster, a skeletal remnant of its former grandeur, stood as a testament to the passage of time and the relentless grip of nature's reclamation. The laughter that once resonated joyously through these hallowed grounds was now but an echo of the past, carried away by the wind, lost in the folds of time. The air was thick with nostalgia, an eerie ambience that seemed to envelop the group as they wandered through the labyrinth of deserted funhouses and motionless carousels. Sarah's eyes lit up with excitement, drawn to the remnants of the past that lay scattered like forgotten treasures. She imagined the days when this place had been alive with happiness, the joyful screams of children on the rides, and the sweet aroma of cotton candy that filled the air. Yet, as they ventured deeper into the heart of the forsaken playground, an intangible tension began to wrap itself around their hearts. The atmosphere shifted, and the once dim twilight seemed to grow darker, the shadows lengthening like accusing fingers pointing at the interlopers. Unnerved by the palpable sense of foreboding that surrounded them, Emily suggested they turn back, her voice tinged with unease. However, her words were met with both stubborn determination and fleeting curiosity, as Mark and Sarah were determined to unravel the enigma that lay before them, while Alex scoffed at the idea of succumbing to superstitious nonsense. Their adventure was only beginning, and as the sun sank below the horizon, casting long shadows across the desolate amusement park, they were yet to encounter the true depths of terror that Phantom's Playground had in store for them. The spirits of the past stirred with anticipation, and as the first tendrils of night wrapped around the abandoned attractions, the eerie symphony of Phantom's Playground began to play, a haunting melody that would echo through their very souls. Little did they know that what they sought was not merely a brush with the supernatural but an encounter that would challenge their beliefs and change the course of their lives forever. As the group explored Phantom's Playground, they felt an eerie presence that seemed to pervade every nook and cranny, as if the very essence of the amusement park held on to the memories of its bygone days. The rusted rides and crumbling attractions looked as if they had been frozen in time, caught in the moment the park was abruptly abandoned decades ago, and it was as if the spirits of the past lingered on, trapped in a perpetual state of longing and despair. Mark stumbled upon an old, dusty carousel that stood like a mournful sentinel, its once colorful horses now adorned with peeling paint, frozen in mid-gallop. As he approached, the carousel seemed to stir with a life of its own, a spectral energy coursing through its decrepit form. To the amazement and terror of the group, the weathered mechanism began to spin ever so slowly, as if moved by unseen hands or guided by the whispering voices that echoed in the air. A haunting melody, long forgotten by the living but cherished by the ethereal inhabitants of the park, emanated from the carousel's music box. The tune wove its way into the hearts of the trespassers, a somber and nostalgic melody that conjured memories of laughter and joy, an echo of a time when this place was alive with the mirth of the living. Yet, the laughter they heard now was not that of the living but the echoes of the past, the laughter of children who had long since passed into the realm of the unknown. The group exchanged nervous glances, their hearts pounding in their chests as they beheld the surreal sight before them. Shadows seemed to dance on the edges of their vision, hinting at the presence of unseen specters that delighted in the curiosity of their newfound guests. Sarah's curiosity mingled with a creeping sense of unease, while Mark, usually the rational one, found himself questioning the boundaries of reality and the possibility of unseen forces at play. Emily, ever the skeptic, attempted to brush off the paranormal occurrences as mere coincidences or figments of their imagination. But as the carousel's eerie symphony continued, the doubt in her eyes began to waver, and she couldn't shake off the chill that crawled up her spine like icy fingers. Alex, on the other hand, found himself entranced by the supernatural performance unfolding before him. He watched the carousel spin with a kind of morbid fascination, wondering if perhaps they had stumbled upon an otherworldly stage where spirits replayed their memories for the living to witness. With a cynical smile, he half-joked that they were witnessing the afterlife's attempt at its own form of amusement. The haunting melody of the carousel reached its crescendo, and for a moment, the entire amusement park seemed to hold its breath. The echoes of children's laughter swelled, surrounding the group like a spectral choir. The air felt charged with an energy that was neither entirely benevolent nor malevolent, but something else, something beyond mortal comprehension. As quickly as it had begun, the carousel's ghostly dance came to a halt, leaving the group in stunned silence. The faint echo of the laughter lingered in the air for a few seconds longer before fading into the somber stillness that enveloped Phantom's playground. The group exchanged bewildered glances, their thoughts a whirlwind of emotions, uncertainty, and awe. In that moment, it became clear that the amusement park held more than just abandoned rides and eerie echoes of the past. Phantom's playground was a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred, where the laughter of children from yesteryears resided, and where the mysteries of the supernatural unfolded before their very eyes. With every step they took, the group found themselves descending deeper into a realm where the veil between the tangible and the intangible became thinner, and where the phantoms of the past awaited to reveal the secrets that had long been buried in the annals of time. Emily, intrigued by the supernatural stories surrounding the park, insisted on delving deeper into its mysteries, her curiosity a mix of fascination and trepidation. Leading the group with cautious steps, they found themselves standing before the looming facade of the park's once iconic funhouse, which now stood as a weathered testament to its former grandeur. The peeling paint and cracked mirrors seemed to hold secrets within their reflections, and Sarah couldn't help but feel an inexplicable magnetism drawing her closer to the darkened entrance. As they cautiously stepped inside, the air felt heavy with anticipation, and the dim lighting gave the funhouse an eerie ambience that sent shivers down their spines. The distorted mirrors played tricks on their minds, creating unsettling reflections that seemed to distort their very identities. Mark's reflection appeared elongated and distorted, like a grotesque caricature of himself, while Emily's reflection seemed to age before her eyes, a ghostly reminder of the transience of life. In the midst of this disorienting spectacle, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Turning away from one mirror, she caught a glimpse of a shadowy figure standing behind her in the reflection, watching silently. Her heart pounded in her chest, and she took a quick, fearful glance over her shoulder, only to find an empty room devoid of any visible presence. The feeling of being watched persisted, though, and each time she looked into a mirror, the shadowy figure seemed to grow more distinct. The phantom's gaze had caught her, and it seemed to pierce through the fabric of reality, reaching into the depths of her soul. She could feel an inexplicable connection with this enigmatic entity, as if they were linked through some mysterious, ethereal thread. Terror clutched at her heart as the realization sank in. The phantom was not just a legend or a figment of their collective imagination. It was a force that transcended the boundaries of time, a specter whose existence defied the laws of the known world. The amusement park was its domain, and they were mere intruders in a realm that belonged to something far more powerful and inscrutable than they could ever comprehend. Emily, who had been skeptical of the supernatural, couldn't help but feel a growing sense of dread as the mirror reflections seemed to distort and warp her perception of reality. Her logical mind struggled to find rational explanations, but the more she attempted to dismiss it as mere trickery, the more unsettling the experience became. Alex, the self-proclaimed skeptic, started to feel a creeping unease as well. Despite his attempts to rationalize everything that had happened so far, he couldn't shake off the feeling that they were not alone in the funhouse, that unseen eyes were watching their every move. As they cautiously ventured further into the funhouse, the air grew colder, and their breaths became visible in the dim light. Whispers seemed to echo through the halls, unintelligible voices from the past that hinted at forgotten secrets and lost souls seeking solace. The unsettling atmosphere weighed on their minds, and a palpable tension hung in the air like a spectral fog. In the heart of the funhouse, they encountered a room adorned with mirrors on every surface, creating an infinite maze of reflections that seemed to stretch into eternity. In this disorienting chamber of mirrors, the boundaries between reality and illusion blurred further, and the presence of the phantom seemed to intensify. The group huddled together, their senses on high alert, as the chilling whispers grew louder, reverberating through the room like a haunting symphony. Suddenly, the mirrors began to ripple with an unnatural energy, distorting the reflections of their terrified faces. The room felt alive, as if it had taken on a malevolent consciousness of its own, seeking to ensnare them in an eternal dance of deception. Amid the chaos of the moving mirrors, Sarah caught fleeting glimpses of the phantom in the reflections, moving through the funhouse like a wraith weaving between dimensions. The apparition's features remained obscured, but its haunting presence filled the room with an overwhelming aura of sorrow and rage, as if the very essence of the entity yearned for release from the shackles of its eternal haunting. In a moment of terror and desperation, Sarah shouted out into the void, her voice quivering but resolute. She addressed the enigmatic specter, acknowledging the pain it must have endured and the suffering that led it to become trapped in this spectral realm. She implored the phantom to find peace and to free them from the clutches of its malevolence. In the aftermath of her plea, a profound silence enveloped the funhouse, as if the very fabric of reality held its breath. The mirrors ceased their distorted dance, and the echoes of the past fell silent. For a fleeting moment, it seemed as though time itself had frozen, and the fate of the group hung in the balance. Then, as if responding to Sarah's plea, a soft, ethereal glow began to emanate from the heart of the room, where the mirrors met like a web of interlocking reflections. The glow intensified, enveloping the room in a radiant, otherworldly light. With each passing second, the presence of the phantom seemed to fade, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. In that moment, Sarah realized that her empathy and courage had somehow touched the phantom's spirit, breaking the cycle of torment that bound it to the amusement park. The supernatural entity had found a flicker of solace in her words, and with that, its malevolence had relinquished its hold on the living. As the radiant light began to recede, the group found themselves outside the funhouse, the decrepit facade of Phantom's Playground once again looming before them. The gates stood open, a stark contrast to their previous attempts to escape. Though they had survived the chilling encounter with the Phantom's gaze, the group knew that their journey through the haunted amusement park was far from over. The spectral presence still lingered, and the mysteries that shrouded Phantom's Playground remained as enigmatic as ever. With each step they took, they became more entangled in the web of the amusement park's haunted past, and the once vibrant facade of an innocent playground now revealed itself as a sinister labyrinth of forgotten phantoms. Yet, the journey into the depths of Phantom's Playground had only just begun, and the group knew that confronting the malevolent specter had only unearthed the tip of the iceberg in the horrors that awaited them in the heart of the cursed grounds. As dusk approached, the group's unease grew, and their excitement waned as the realization dawned that they were trapped within the confines of Phantom's playground. The once ajar gates, which had seemed to offer a glimpse of freedom, now stood locked, as if the amusement park itself had embraced them in its malevolent grasp. Panic fluttered in their chests like trapped birds, as they desperately tried to find a way out of the forsaken grounds. The amusement park seemed to have a life of its own, as if it were an ancient entity, sentient and malevolent, mocking their attempts to escape its haunted clutches. The once stationary attractions creaked to life, a cacophony of eerie sounds echoing through the night, as if the spirits of the past had risen from their slumber to reclaim their territory. Whispering voices, faint but distinct, swirled in the air, their words unintelligible yet hauntingly unsettling. Shadows danced and played along the path, shifting and morphing into spectral forms that seemed to reach out, beckoning them further into the heart of darkness. In a desperate attempt to flee the encroaching horror, the group navigated through the eerie attractions, but each turn they took seemed to lead them deeper into the heart of the forsaken amusement park, far from the exit they so desperately sought. It was as if Phantom's playground reveled in their fear, relishing their growing sense of helplessness and vulnerability. With every step they took, the sense of being watched became more pronounced, an intangible weight pressing upon them like a shroud of malevolence. Whispers seemed to follow their every move, and the air was heavy with the scent of decay and forgotten memories, a reminder of the countless souls that had met their mysterious fates within these haunted grounds. In their frantic search for an escape route, they stumbled upon an abandoned fortune-teller's booth. The worn tarot cards and cracked crystal ball gave an air of mystique and foreboding, as if the secrets of the past and the future lay within their grasp. Sarah, her anxiety now mingled with a desperate hope, approached the booth, hoping that somehow the mystic relics could reveal a way to break free from the clutches of Phantom's playground. As she touched the crystal ball, a surge of energy seemed to pulse through her, connecting her to an unseen realm of the supernatural. Her vision blurred, and she saw glimpses of the past, the park in its heyday, bustling with life and joy. Yet, beneath the facade of happiness, there was a darker undercurrent, a sense of unresolved sorrow and tragedy that had been buried by time. The spirits of the past whispered through her consciousness, their stories intertwining with her own, as if their essence had become entwined with the very fabric of the amusement park. She saw flashes of children laughing and playing, blissfully unaware of the darkness that would later consume this place. The fortune-teller's booth had been a vessel for hope and dreams, but it had also harbored the unspoken fears and regrets of those who sought solace within its divination. As the visions intensified, Sarah saw the performer who had once inhabited the booth, a mysterious figure whose fate had been forever tied to the cursed amusement park. The performer had possessed a gift for sensing the supernatural, but it had been both a blessing and a curse. Their ability to commune with the spirits of the past had drawn the attention of the Phantom, and in a tragic twist of fate, they had become trapped in the very world they had sought to understand. It became evident that the Phantom's curse had not been born out of malevolence but of immense sorrow and a longing for release. The amusement park, now a haunted sanctuary, had become a prison for the lost souls who had been ensnared by the entity's wrath. With this newfound understanding, Sarah realized that they could not defeat the Phantom with fear or force but with empathy and compassion. She shared the revelation with her companions, and together they resolved to confront the malevolent spirit, not with the intent to banish it but to free it from its torment. As nightfall descended, enveloping the amusement park in darkness, the group prepared themselves for their confrontation with the Phantom. They stood before the abandoned theater, where the ghostly figure had revealed itself to them, the rustling curtain a harbinger of the spectral presence within. The air was charged with tension and emotion, and as they stepped onto the stage, they felt a sense of unity, their shared determination to confront the entity as one. In unison, they called out to the Phantom, acknowledging its pain, its anger, and the haunting memories that kept it bound to the amusement park. The atmosphere seemed to ripple with energy as the Phantom materialized before them, an ethereal figure bathed in an otherworldly glow. Its appearance held an air of melancholy and longing, as if it yearned for understanding and absolution. With trembling voices, the group conveyed their empathy, expressing their sorrow for the tragedy that had befallen the performer and acknowledging the suffering endured within this spectral realm. They sought to impart the message that, despite the passage of time, the phantom had not been forgotten, that their pain had been acknowledged and their story would not be lost to the annals of history. As the heartfelt words echoed through the theater, the phantom's malevolence seemed to waver, its form flickering like a candle in the wind. The ethereal glow that surrounded it intensified, as if their compassion had ignited a spark of hope within the entity. With a final whispered plea, Sarah beseeched the phantom to find peace, to embrace the light of forgiveness and release its grasp on the haunted amusement park. As the words left her lips, the atmosphere crackled with energy, and the spectral form of the phantom began to dissipate, like mist in the morning sun. The night seemed to hold its breath, and the group watched in awe as the once powerful entity dissolved into the ether, leaving behind an eerie sense of calm that filled the theater. The malevolence that had plagued Phantom's Playground for untold years had finally been quelled, and a sense of serenity washed over the forsaken grounds. As the first rays of dawn broke through the darkness, the group found themselves standing outside the unlocked gates of the now still amusement park. The once hostile atmosphere had transformed into a solemn tranquility, and it was as if the spirits of the past had found their release, no longer trapped within the confines of Phantom's Playground. The group shared a deep sense of reverence and awe for the haunted amusement park, where they had ventured into the heart of darkness, confronted their fears, and unlocked the compassion within their hearts. They knew that they had been forever changed by this harrowing experience, and the memory of Phantom's Playground would forever linger in their souls as a tale of horror, redemption, and the enduring power of empathy. Though the haunted amusement park remained abandoned and frozen in time, its malevolence had dissipated, leaving behind a lingering enigma that whispered through the whispers of the wind. The legend of Phantom's Playground would continue to be told by those who dared to listen, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks within the forgotten corners of the world, and the redemption that can be found through the embrace of compassion and understanding. Exhausted and terrified, the group found themselves in the heart of Phantom's Playground, the abandoned theater, a place where ghostly echoes of long-lost performances lingered in the air like a mournful symphony. The curtain on the stage, once vibrant and animated with life, now rustled ominously, seemingly stirred by an unseen presence. Uncertainty hung in the air like a heavy fog as they hesitated, momentarily frozen by the weight of what lay before them. With trembling hands and beating hearts, they mustered the courage to step onto the stage, where the spectral figure emerged from the shadows, revealing itself in all its eerie grandeur. Bathed in an ethereal glow, the phantom stood before them, an amalgamation of sorrow and wrath, a presence that seemed to transcend the boundaries of the living and the dead. The air grew dense with tension, and the atmosphere crackled with an otherworldly energy as the phantom spoke in a haunting voice that seemed to echo from beyond the veil of existence. Its words were laden with the weight of a lifetime's sorrow, of a soul condemned to an eternity of wandering and suffering, a fate it now sought to share with its intruders. Yet, Sarah, driven by her unyielding empathy, dared to look beyond the malevolence that shrouded the phantom's being. She saw not just a vengeful spirit, but a once human soul bound by tragedy and anguish, desperately yearning for release from the chains of its cursed existence. In a voice laced with both trepidation and compassion, Sarah addressed the phantom, acknowledging the pain it must have endured during its mortal life and the agony that had imprisoned it within this spectral realm. Her words carried an undeniable sincerity, a genuine desire to understand the entity that had been consumed by anger and despair. The phantom's form flickered, its ethereal glow pulsating in response to the sincerity of Sarah's words. It seemed almost taken aback by her empathy, as if it had grown accustomed to being met with fear and hostility. In that moment, the lines between victim and tormentor blurred, and Sarah saw beyond the malevolence, recognizing the poignant tragedy of the phantom's existence. As if moved by some unseen force, the phantom began to recount its tale, a haunting narrative of an ambitious performer whose dreams were shattered by betrayal and untimely death. It was a tale of love and loss, of talent unappreciated and a heartbroken soul that had sought retribution in the afterlife. The amusement park, once a stage for joy and merriment, had become its realm of unrest and vengeance, forever mired in the shadows of its tragic past. In that pivotal moment, Sarah understood that defeating the phantom was not the answer. Instead, the group needed to find a way to break the cycle of vengeance and help the lost spirit find the closure it so desperately sought. Sarah extended a hand, an invitation to let go of the pain that had kept it bound for so long and to embrace the light that lay beyond the darkness. In the soft glow of the stage lights, the phantom seemed to waver, its malevolence slowly giving way to a profound sense of sorrow and longing. The barrier between the living and the dead softened, and for a fleeting moment, it felt as though Sarah and the phantom shared an unspoken connection, a connection that transcended the boundaries of life and death. With a trembling voice and tears in her eyes, Sarah made a promise to the phantom, promising to carry its story beyond the boundaries of Phantom's Playground, to ensure that its legacy lived on in the annals of history. She vowed to honor its memory and acknowledge the pain it had endured, affirming that its existence had not been in vain. As Sarah's words reached the phantom's tortured soul, a profound transformation swept over the ethereal being. Its spectral form seemed to waver, becoming more translucent with each passing moment, as if its ties to the haunted amusement park were finally starting to loosen. The theater filled with an overwhelming sense of emotion, as the spirits of the past seemed to gather around the phantom, offering their silent support. The long-lost souls, who had shared in its anguish and sorrow, now stood united in their shared destiny, a destiny that would be forever entwined with the living world through Sarah's unwavering empathy. With a final whisper of gratitude, the phantom's form dissipated into the ethereal mist, leaving behind a profound stillness that seemed to resonate through the very core of Phantom's Playground. The air felt lighter, and the malevolence that had once gripped the haunted amusement park began to fade like a distant nightmare. As the first rays of dawn broke through the horizon, the group found themselves standing outside the unlocked gates of the amusement park. The once darkened and cursed grounds now basked in the warm embrace of the rising sun. Phantom's Playground had shed its haunted shroud, and the echoes of the past were finally at peace. Sarah, Mark, Emily, and Alex exchanged solemn glances, their hearts filled with a mix of relief, awe, and humility. They had braved the horrors of Phantom's Playground and, in doing so, had not only confronted malevolence but had also discovered the transformative power of empathy and compassion. Their journey through the haunted amusement park had been a crucible of fear and introspection, revealing the depths of their character and the resilience of their spirits. As they turned away from the forsaken grounds, they knew that this harrowing experience would forever shape their lives, a tale of horror and redemption that they would carry with them as a reminder of the fragile balance between light and darkness, life and death, and the enduring power of understanding and forgiveness. From that day forth, Phantom's Playground would no longer be a place of dread and despair, but a testament to the profound connection between the living and the dead, a reminder that the echoes of the past can be heard by those who listen with open hearts. And as they walked away from the haunted realm, they knew that the story of their encounter with the phantom would become a part of the ever-growing tapestry of legends that whispered through the winds of time, forever etched into the realm of folklore and the enigmatic allure of the supernatural.